FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and well, things are moving ahead. Economies come, economies go. Right now, we're shooting on all barrels in the U.S. economy and probably the world economy soon. How long will that last is anybody's guess, but in a growing economy, you got to have energy. And what's interesting about this time in our history now is we're about to transition to a number of new energy sources. And, well, I'm going to let our guest tell you about this. It's an important time. As always, if you've got a question, you're going to want to call us. You're going to want to email us. The email address for future reference, kl@kerrylutz.com. So I've got Henk van Alphen here. Henk, you are CEO of Wealth Minerals Limited, and we are first time on the show. We're thrilled to have you.
Oh, thank you very much, Kerry. It's an honor to be here.
So you're an expert in energy. Obviously, you live and breathe it. And as you've told me, you don't have a lot of room in your life for anything else but running Wealth Minerals, which is understandable considering that you're in the energy sector. Well, the economy, U.S. economy, love them or hate them, since President Trump appears to have gone up, ratcheted up a couple of notches, and is probably happening around the world. What are you seeing in your travels? Because I know you're all over the place talking to people, and obviously you got a good insight into it.
Thanks, Kerry. The main reason for doing what I did with Wealth, which was actually getting into the lithium business and therefore by extension into the battery business, is that I traveled extensively in Southeast Asia. China, been there many, many times. And if you go to Southeast Asia, and I know you're talking about the United States, and I see the United States as also the economy is doing very well under Trump, and I love to see that. But, in Southeast Asia, you have these economies that are booming at 6, 7, 8% growth a year. So the growth is staggering there. And one of the problems that they have with that growth is that they have enormous amounts of pollution problems. These cities are humongous. In China, you have, I don't know how many cities, over 20 million people, and they have enormous pollution issues. And so for me, it was actually pretty easy, by having been in those kind of environments, to sort of think in terms of cleaner forms of energy. And batteries and lithium are going to be playing a major role in that.
Oh, for sure. And you make a great point. It's not just about the U.S., it's about the world. And we have places with bad pollution, but nothing compared when you go to China or Bangkok, Thailand, where all the traffic cops are wearing surgical masks, which don't really do anything, but it makes them feel like they're doing something, filtering out the pollution. And I've been in electric vehicles, EVs, before. They're pretty cool. But there's a trend going on here, even though they're a very small percentage of sales in the U.S. China, has mandated by 2040, no more internal combustion engines. Everything's going to have to be electric. So goes China, so goes the world.
Yeah, you're right. The number of electric vehicles coming onto the roads around the world is going to be staggering increase. And if I had a group from China in my office. They were representing battery producers, and they were saying that they were, last year I think it was that the Chinese the electric vehicles use about 100,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent a year. And that is going to go up, tenfold in the next few years. And today's production for lithium is really only, and that's just Chinese car manufacturers, the battery use on Chinese cars. So if you look around the world, whereby you have the big car, BMWs, Volkswagen, Volvo, Audis, all of those will come up with a string of new electric vehicles. So the world is going to look for batteries like crazy, and that has nothing to do with power storage, let's say, but just with cars. So the battery production increase is going to be 10-20-fold in the next 5-10 years, and lithium is going to be always a crucial part of that battery.
Yeah, for sure. They talk about substitutes, developing other batteries. So far, it's all about lithium. And you make a great point that, the auto market, transportation market is going to be the big, heavy user. They'll probably use 80% of the lithium coming online. Look, we got Tesla. They're going to be marketing an 18-wheeler, right? A lithium battery-powered 18-wheeler. What's that going to do to things?
Yeah. Plus the number of cars that Tesla is aiming to produce. I mean, let's face it. But that's just Tesla is just going to be one of them. Yeah. I mean, every car manufacturer is out there coming up with new models. I mean, it's a fundamental change that is happening in the world, and people have really underestimated that, I think. And you say, well, it's only maybe a small percentage point of all the cars out there that are electric. Yeah, but that small percentage point goes from 1.5 or whatever it is, 2% to 20%. There's a tenfold increase of everything that has to do with batteries. It's staggering. It's really staggering. And I think that switch is going to happen much, much faster and much bigger than anybody anticipates.
Yeah, it certainly appears that way. I mean, being U.S.-centric, our audience, we get a little skeptical because it's basically about Tesla. They're having problems with the Tesla 3. But you go, like you said, to Southeast Asia, all over the place, they are embracing EVs. And that's going to come to the U.S. and Europe as well, isn't it?
I live in Vancouver, Canada. We downtown have... Very soon we will have no more gas stations here. There's no more. There's the last gas station that is shutting down, and that's it. For the whole of Vancouver downtown core, you have to go outside of Vancouver, outside of the downtown core, to find a gas station. If you have an electric vehicle, you just plug it in and off you go. It's going to be much easier to have an electric vehicle, and that's a trend that's going to happen everywhere.
No doubt. Hey, what's the price of lithium per ton right now?
It's lithium is either sold on the spot market and it's sold on the contract. So contracts go for about, right now, I would say about 15,000 tons, $15,000 per ton, and then on the spot market you hear numbers of $23,000.
That much? Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's I just always remember that movie, The Graduate. I don't know if you ever saw it. And the guy tells the kid he just graduated from college, plastics. You want to be in plastics. Now it seems you want to be in lithium here. It really does.
Lithium was only worth $4,000 a ton. Not that many, just a few years ago.
I know. So amazing.
Luckily, it's a very small part of the battery, so it doesn't entirely, because the cost of batteries has come down tremendously in the last, let's say, 5-6 years. Yeah. So in spite of lithium prices having gone up so much, so the batteries themselves can handle obviously fairly high lithium prices.
I totally got that. So basically, China is dominating the global lithium market, but there's a lot of countries that are able to produce lithium that have generous lithium deposits in the ground, isn't there?
Well, there's actually really two countries in the world that produce most of it. It's Chile and Australia. Between those two, you're probably looking at 75% of the world's lithium supplies. In Chile, they're very blessed with a particularly large and very rich salar where you pump brines, which are full of lithium. In Australia, they were blessed with hard rock deposits that have lithium in them. So those are really the two main sources. Then you have some coming out of Argentina, which are similar to Chile, but not as rich or as big. Or the United States produces some lithium in Nevada. And then we have some coming out of China, and that's pretty much most of where the lithium comes from.
Wow, that's really fascinating that the market is that limited, and I didn't realize that there were only two main producers at this point. So, as far as pure plays in the lithium sector now, what pure plays are there? There
were never any pure play lithium producers, because when lithium wasn't worth that much money, there wasn't really anybody producing lithium other than as a byproduct. So if you look at the main producers today would be SQM, Albemarle, Tianqi. Between those three, they probably produce 70% of the world's lithium already. And they were mainly, maybe not so much Tianqi, but Albemarle and SQM, they were probably just potassium producers, because the lithium was just a byproduct of the fertilizer market, really. Today, of course, that's completely switched, whereby potassium prices have gone down and lithium prices have skyrocketed up. So now, if you look at the revenues of those companies, 80% of their profits come from lithium, while the rest is coming from, potassium and other sources. So that's just switched. That's only switched in the last 4 or 5 years.
So that's literally a case of the tail wagging the dog now, the lithium tail wagging the potassium dog. That's fascinating. And one thing we look at, obviously, political stability, oil. When you look at oil, it's all about geopolitical stability or instability in the Middle East, et cetera. Lithium doesn't suffer from that, does it? So stable prices?
Well, there are. I think the single largest lithium source actually in the world is actually in Bolivia. But so talk about political instability, then Bolivia would jump to mind. Yeah. So not all of it sits in the right place, let's say. But yeah, where lithium is coming from today, Chile, Argentina, very stable environments.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Argentina, I don't think I'd be investing in their currency anytime soon, but they go through that periodically. It's almost expected, So no, that's amazing. But
anyway, some production is coming out of Argentina.
Sure,
as well.
Yeah, and so, but is there enough? Is there going to be enough lithium to meet demand? Like you said, batteries don't use a lot of it, but when you got a lot of batteries, and more being produced every day, that's going to put a squeeze on the supply at some point, isn't it?
Depends who you believe a little bit. I think there's going to be an issue with supplies, and I think people really should start really worrying about getting enough lithium out there for the demand that's coming up here. So it's certainly, I don't think it's going to be that easy to meet the demand, but obviously prices of lithium. I think the price of lithium will increase from where we are today. And when you have a very high price commodity, people are very creative, let's say. So there will be sources of lithium coming in the market. I think there's going to be a problem in the short term here, whereby you have an enormous increase in electric vehicles coming on, and you don't really have a lot of new lithium production hitting the marketplace. So I think there's going to be an increase in prices, but eventually, as a commodity gets high enough, as I said, people are very creative. So, demand will be met at some point. And with new technologies coming on, it will all help to meet the demand. But it will take a while, I think. We'll see very strong prices of lithium in the short term.
That's fascinating. And obviously, there's inventories of lithium. What does the current inventory look like? I cannot find any information on above ground supplies.
I think all of it is, I see what the producers are reporting. I mean, they basically they sell 100% of their production right away. Albemarle was making remarks now. They're they're signing 10-year-long contracts now for lithium supply. So they're already selling 10 years out. So there's no lithium sitting around. That's why the spot market, I think, is as high as it is. I've heard numbers like $23,000 a ton. So I don't think there's much lithium out there. I certainly talk to people that battery producers, and they have a hard time finding it. Certainly the smaller ones.
That is really fascinating because there's not many commodities out there that there's absolutely no spot supply on. And that leads us to Wealth Minerals Corp. Obviously.
Can I make one more comment there?
Of course.
You see, this is the first time I've been involved in a commodity that actually where you see people that are at the end, a battery producer is actually trying to they're starting to talk to miners. I've never seen that before. That's like, somebody that makes a copper pot or whatever is talking to a mine to make sure that they have copper supplies coming on. So this is the first time that I've ever seen that people go that far down the line. Like, Toyota has invested in a company in Argentina just to get their hands on lithium, and Toyota buys batteries to put into electric cars. That's how far this has gone, and I have never seen that before in my life.
Yeah, that's rather unusual. The last time I remember that happening was Ford going for palladium, and that didn't turn out real well for Ford. But this one's totally different than that for sure. So as far as your company, as far as Wealth Minerals goes, where are you positioned now?
Okay, I'll make, not to make it dragging too long here. When I started looking for lithium, it was the obvious place to be, to me, was in Chile. I went back and forth to Chile several times, had discussions with the government there. Chile produces, as I said, 35-40% of the world's lithium supplies. It's quoted as having 50% of the world's resources. So when I started going to Chile, it was an obvious place. And I've been exposed to South America in my career for the last 30 years, let's say. So I've been in and out of these countries many, many times. But certainly the opportunity in Chile was that in Chile, lithium is a strategic mineral. So therefore, you can't just export the stuff. It was strategic. Mm-hmm. It was used in the olden days as in nuclear bombs, and therefore Chile made it strategic, and pretty much it's difficult to export. So anyway, my conversations with the government was, no, we'll open it up to private corporations to export, and that will be changing the regulations, and that will happen. So that's when I went to Chile. That was the idea. And there wasn't really too many people looking there because of this strategic situation. So the place was open for me to pick up as many, let's say, salars, where the brine deposits are, without too much competition, let's say, initially. And then, of course, the change with the government talking about changing the regulations more and more, it became obviously a more popular place. So what Wealth did, we actually did a joint venture. We announced that about, let's say, 5-6 weeks ago. We did a joint venture with a government-owned corporation, and by doing a joint venture, it actually allows us to start exporting lithium. And so we now are in a fantastic situation whereby Wealth actually can export lithium. So the second reason, obviously, to go to or the first, let's say, reason to go to Chile is it's the place where you have enormous resources, but it's also the lowest cost producer in the world. And, production in Chile is just $2,000 a ton for lithium production. And if you could sell the stuff for 15, I guess I don't need to do the math for you as to what that means. So it was a really easy, decision to say, okay, let's make a bet on Chile and make a bet that regulations are going to change, or our ability to do a joint venture with a government organization, and that was basically the start of Wealth. And now we are very fortunate that we own a big piece, 46,000 hectares in the number one salar in the world. It's called the Salar de Atacama, and this is where all the production in Chile comes from. So 35-40% of the world's production comes out of this particular salar, and we just managed to get a fairly large piece of that.
That's amazing. And talk about making your own opportunities in life. It seems like it's really worked out well for you.
It's always you travel around the world, and then my forte has always been South America. I've operated there for a long time, so it was a pretty obvious thing, and I was very fortunate. I've been around. I know lots of people. I have very good connections, and I met with the person that's really running our operation in Chile. His name is Marcelo Awad, and he was the former CEO of Antofagasta, which is the second largest copper producer in Chile. So he was a very well connected, respected individual. And when I told him, I said, "Look, I think there's a huge opportunity here." And he agreed with me. So we kind of joined forces, let's say, and this is how we, moved this company forward. So now, so we went from grabbing whatever we could get, doing deals, to having done the deal with the government, and now we're sort of in the process of establishing as to how much lithium are we actually going to have and how much can we produce. Yeah. So we're now in that phase, and that will probably happen here very quickly. So the company will have an enormous growth curve coming up here.
And that probably is going to send the stock back over the 250 Canadian range. You're just waiting for the catalyst, and you've recently had some major news.
Yeah, the major news was really that we completed a joint venture with a company called Anamis, government-owned corporation, which then obviously allows us to export. And the market has been, surprisingly soft since that announcment.
Subdued.
And I have to say, generally, I know how to forecast my stock going up or down, and this time I was completely wrong. It went the wrong way, and I have to say, but the whole lithium market has taken a bit of a breather. You have many companies that got into the lithium space, and I think, not all of those are going to work out. So you go through this enormous growth, let's say, with many companies, and then everybody is just standing around wondering what just happened.
Yeah.
So then you get a retraction in the industry, and then at the end, people will understand, because there was a very low understanding of what lithium production actually, how complicated that is, or what that looks like, and how easy that is. So every time you get a new commodity boom, you will have many people jumping in there and only few survivors. So you go to this weeding out process, and in the end, there's winners that come out the other side. In the lithium space, funny enough, we're going through the same performance here, but many times you see when a commodity price shoots up, then it's funny enough, it also shoots down. With lithium, that's not going to be the case. Lithium is going to stay strong here for quite a long time. I mean, for maybe decades to come. So you don't have the correction in a commodity price, or why a price shoots up and then, and then it shoots down, and everybody is obviously, share prices go down. Here we have a cleansing, let's say, in the marketplace, even though the lithium prices have kept on going up. So you're going to see a next wave happening here, whereby the people that are still standing are going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, because look, I mean, the idea of trying to get your hands nowadays onto a world-class lithium asset, it's really tough, and maybe you could do it, but you got to have really rich funding.
Yeah, no, yeah, certainly brines. I mean, you could see those brines from Google Earth. Yeah, the exploration for them is very easy. There are no brines that are going to be discovered that aren't known. So everybody knows pretty much where you are. There will be new hard rock deposits discovered, but the geological setting for those ones is generally, they're not that wide and they're not that good grade. So generally speaking, they're always more expensive than, let's say, brine extraction will be. But for the brine, everybody already knows where they are, and there's not going to be any new major discoveries coming on at all. And you're entirely right. I mean, whoever has managed to grab whatever they have grabbed better hang on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like oceanfront real estate, right? Everybody knows where it is. They're not making any more. And if you don't have it now, you're going to pay through the nose for it. So that might mean acquisitions coming in the future by bigger companies. It's going to be a really interesting landscape, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you'll see there will be lots of M&A business taking place in the industry, because all the battery producers, and going even further down to car manufacturers, they are going to have to start worrying about where the next lithium is going to come from for all these new cars. I mean, they're all lining up for many models. I mean, people better wake up to it fairly quickly, yeah, because the last thing you need is a whole bunch of cars sitting there without electric engines in them. Yeah, so I'd say you'll see a major rush coming in here, and that's going to happen in the next few years.
Yeah, and you could see the Panasonics really saying, we've got to secure our supply. We can't be at the mercy of not being able to get it. It's a vital metal. Lithium is a metal, and really we got to just secure supply at all costs. So it's going to be an interesting scramble, Hank. Basically, what you're describing. Yeah. So I know you're. Oh, yeah. So I know all of you listening, you're definitely interested in this company, and you want to know where is it traded and what are the tickers, and I am going to give you that right now. Hank, so as far as where we find the company, you're on the Vancouver, on the Toronto Venture, obviously, and we also find you. Just tell us the tickers. Tell us where we find you.
Okay, it's trading under the symbol WML on the Toronto Venture Exchange, and under the symbol WMLLT on the OTCQB. Even we're actually moving to the OTCQX. Oh, cool. So that's where we're trading.
Cool. And yeah, this is really shaping up to be a fascinating market move, because, like you said, you're living in Shanghai, God forbid. You go there. I was there a year ago, and my God, all I saw was white, just white smog. I saw blue sky for 15 minutes when some clouds separated, but otherwise that's your world there, and people are getting fed up with it, and they're demanding that the government do something about it, and whether it's getting rid of coal-fired power plants or doing a dramatic, rapid shift to electric vehicles, they're under pressure by their people. The governments of the world are under pressure by their people. They want this situation changed. They don't want to be living like this, and I think, Wealth Minerals going to be a direct beneficiary of it, Hank.
No, I think we are. We are in the right place at the right time. Perfect timing. It's all, let's face it, timing is everything in life. Yeah. Yeah. So it's better to be lucky than smart, as they say.
And if you could be smart and lucky at the same time, there's no limit to what you can do. So again, the tickers on the Toronto Venture, WML, on the OTCQB, that's the over-the-counter in the States, WMLLF. Hey, Hank, it's been great speaking with you. Wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for sponsoring the show, and we will talk to you again real soon.
Okay, thank you very much for having me on the show.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.